This is Goku-san, DBZ, and welcome back for a new top 10 list. And yeah, I know, I'm wearing a sports shirt today. And yes, obviously, UK fan. But anyways, this is top 10 new top 10 game selling list. This time, top 10 best-selling Nintendo 64 games. First, honorable mentions. And then I will be doing a special top 10 list next week rather than a sales list next week. But I'll announce that at the end of the video. So, first up, of honorable mentions, selling an estimated 2,730,000 copies, Pokemon Stadium 2. Yeah, I would have thought it sold better, but surprise, surprise, it actually didn't sell as well as I thought it did. But it is Stadium 2. Next up, selling an estimated 2,850,000 copies, Yoshi's Story. I think there's more to the title, but I ran out of space to write it on. Next honorable mention, selling an estimated 2,940,000 copies, is a game I know nothing about called Wave Race 64. Next up, selling an estimated 3,120,000 copies, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. And I'm glad actually it did well in sales. Mainly because I actually am a pretty big fan, even though I'm not a big overall fan of racing games, I do appreciate those special few. Such as Forza Horizon, Need for Speed 3, Hot Pursuit. Of course, also, I'm a pretty big fan of, as I just mentioned, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, as well as a few other games like Hydro Thunder. Next up of honorable mentions that didn't quite make the sales list, selling an estimated 3,360,000 copies, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And the last honorable mention, selling an estimated 3,630,000 copies, Pokemon Snap, believe it or not, is the 11th best-selling game on the Nintendo 64. So with that said, coming in at number 10, best-selling game on the N64, 3,650,000 copies, Banjo-Kazooie is the 10th best-selling game on the Nintendo 64. Not surprised given that it's a really good platformer. Probably one of the best platformers of all time, in my opinion. But that may be a special top 10 list for another day. Coming in at number 9, selling an estimated 4,030,000 copies. Star Fox 64 comes in at 9th place, selling over 4 million copies. No surprise. And keep in mind that Star Fox 64 was the first game to incorporate, of course, the Rumble Pack, and would be included with the actual game. And I can honestly say Star Fox 64 is in my personal top 10 favorite N64 games of all time. That's a game I'll still off and on play to this day, believe it or not. Coming in at number 8. Selling an estimated 4,880,000 copies. And I was surprised by this one, I didn't realize it sold this well. Diddy Kong Racing. Yeah, actually surprised me quite a bit actually, that sold this well. Coming in at 7th place, selling an estimated 5,270,000 copies. Donkey Kong Country 64. Or just Donkey Kong 64. Which actually surprised me. Coming in at number 6, selling an estimated 5,450,000 copies. The original Pokemon Stadium. So yeah, Pokemon Stadium 1 sold almost twice as much as Pokemon Stadium 2. Pokemon Stadium 1 did about 2.7 million, while the original Pokemon Stadium did about 5.5 million. Quite a big difference, and speaking as an owner of the original Stadium, yeah, it's a good game. I think it actually still holds up pretty well for the most part to this day. Coming in at number 5, selling an estimated 5,555,000 copies. Super Smash Bros. The original Super Smash Bros., which I can say is one of the few N64 games you see right there. I'm trying to point at. I actually have in box. It's one of only like 2 or 3 N64 games I actually have the original box for, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. Is the 5th best-selling game on the N64. Coming in at 4th place, kind of a jump, like a 2 million copy spike from 5th to 4th. Selling an estimated 7,600,000 copies, or 7.6 million. The game I'm playing in the background right now, music-wise. 4th best-selling game on the N64, selling in 7.6 million copies. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Yep, surprise. It sold over 7.5 million copies. And is the 4th best-selling game on the console. But I guess it's not really much of a surprise. It is one of the top 3 best-selling Legend of Zelda games to this day. It stands in the top 3 best. And for a long time there, it actually was the best-selling Zelda game. At least for quite a while it held that spot. Coming in at 3rd place, selling an estimated 8,090,000 copies, so just shy of 8.1 million copies. 3rd best-selling game on the console. Shouldn't be too much of a surprise. It's pretty much the greatest video game based on a movie of all time. And that is 007 GoldenEye. It's the 3rd best-selling game on the console. So not too much of a surprise, I guess, overall, that sold over 8 million copies, which is quite impressive when you think about that the N64 sold like, I believe, less than 30 million units worldwide. That's pretty good. That basically means almost 1 out of 3 N64 owners owns a copy of GoldenEye, including myself. Selling next in 2nd place, selling an estimated 9,870,000 copies, just shy of 9.9 million. So another sales spike by like 1.8 million sales spike. Mario Kart 64 is the 2nd best-selling game on the console. I honestly did not realize Mario Kart 64 actually sold that well. I'm stunned, frankly. And I'm kind of surprised none of the Mario Party games were even up there in sales. In all honesty, that was one of the biggest surprises to me. Number 1, though, I guess is not really a surprise to anyone. The best-selling game on the console. I would say if you average it out, probably about 45% of all N64 owners own a copy of this game. That's a pretty big percentage. Selling an estimated 11,890,000 copies, just shy of 11.9 million. Make it one of the best-selling platformers of all time, like top 3 best-selling platformers of all time. You already have probably guessed it was a launch game. Coming at number 1 best-selling game on the N64, Super Mario 64. Yep, surprise, surprise, Mario 64 is the best-selling game on the console, with almost 12 million copies sold. As I said, probably not too much of a surprise to most people out there that this was the best-selling game on the N64. Now the announcement for special top 10 list coming next week. Top 10, now keep in mind these are my personal picks, but I consider must must-play games. Though I would consider must-buy, but at the very least, must-play games. Next week is my picks for, I feel, 10 of the top must-play platformer games of all time. Stay tuned for that list if you're a fan of platformers such as myself. And consider that as a list of game recommendations to look at buying in the future. So with that said, I'll see everyone next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube show. Stay tuned for an upcoming game review for Ultra Street Fighter 2 for the Nintendo Switch. And I'll see you next time. And I hope you enjoyed this Ocarina of Time music in the background.